Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome. Good to see so many faces for this very interesting topic today, mental health in the hospitality industry. We're going to discuss the urgency and the priority of this topic today. We will
It's
hope
just
to.
a shame to see that now it's not overcrowded. Well, we were speaking about the retention rates, etc., in the previous one, and apparently mental health is not as important as retention. Just a question mark here already.
To
But hey,
start with.
I'm happy that you guys are here because you value it.
So we're going to dive into that priority for sure, and we will give you some insights about our experiences working with different generations, the improvement of mental health, and especially how to apply this to our industry. 40% of the people in the generation of millennial generation claim to be stressed all the time, not only at work but just in life in general. In Holland, we spend 3.1 billion, I have to say in English, 3.1 billion euros on sick leave expenses, all related to burnout complaints. And let's not even talk about the impact on the staffing crisis and about the impact on entrepreneurs, teams, staff, and our industry in general. So today we will talk about the definition of mental health. So what does it mean? How can we apply mental health in our industry? We will talk about the well-being strategies. Is it a cost or is it a profit? And we will also share with you some tools and techniques that you can implement immediately if you're small or when you're a bigger organization. And of course, there's time for questions at the end of our session. If you have any questions at the end, please raise your hand, grab the mic, and save them from the end of the session, and we will answer everything that's there.
Yep.
A little introduction about myself. My name is Martijn van Eijk. I used to work in hospitality industry for almost 20 years. I started when I was 14 as a dishwasher, worked my way up in restaurants, up to the international luxury hotel industry, where I worked as a commercial director in loyalty and retention. And during my career, I studied well-being, mindfulness, coaching, leadership development, people and culture. And in 2019, I decided to start my own business, that name also called my own business, to combine well-being and culture in environments where result-driven and commercial, result-driven and commercial environments. Currently, I offer growth partnerships, so I help people personally and businesses grow based on different way of thinking, culture, well-being, and development. And today I'm here with Viona.
Yep.
Viona is the co-owner of the company Happy Millennials, and her mission is to make the millennial generation the happiest generation of the century. She also has 20 years of leadership background.
Well, if you count dishwashing, it's 30 years, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm
true.
sorry.
That's not leadership background. Is it you were
No,
leader
no, no.
of the dishwasher?
Leader of the dishes. Yeah, for sure.
And now you are focusing on team and leadership development in different industries.
Yes.
So, welcome, Viona.
Thank
Please tell me more about yourself.
you. Well, being in hospitality for 20 years, and I also left in 2019. Maybe that was the big year of transformation. But what my biggest complaint, I guess, was when I left was things are a little bit shallow. We're just really talking about the same things, traveling the world. I had a commercial position, I loved it. But at the same time, I felt that what is the meaning? What am I contributing to the world in hospitality? And I felt that there was a mission for me as a person to first develop myself, because I figured out that when you're at a crossroad in your life, you need to look at yourself first before you can even point your finger at somebody else. So I decided to develop my personal leadership and did a professional master in change management, and specifically in changing the process of personal leadership, team development, and leadership development. And one of the things, and I have to, again, make a little bit of fun of the previous session, we were talking about hospitality is fun. And now we're all wondering why people are not coming back after the pandemic. It's because we are not taking seriously what's going on. People want depth. 40% of millennials and Gen Z are already choosing companies that are really making impact, that have a true purpose. And my question here today for you as an audience, and maybe for you at home with your personal purpose, is what purpose do you have? What impact would you like to make? And why specifically millennials? For me, as a person, you are the generation, and I see many, you are the generation, including Gen Z, you have to make the change in the world right now. The world is literally, and as a matter of speaking, on fire. We do not have time to sit back and relax and talk about fun anymore if we want this industry to kind of get back on where it once was. Sorry,
No,
I
I
now
mean,
stop now.
you were waiting for this moment. I was giving it to you. We were sitting in the previous session, and she was like, "Oh, I have so many things to say about this topic."
Yeah.
And I think, because of the passion, that's why we are here. We both come from hospitality industry, and we combine our passion because we have a heart for this industry. So
Yes.
just to see how can we make this a sustainable industry for people to not only stay in, but be healthy and come back to.
Yes.
So let's start at the beginning. What does mental health means in general?
Well, officially, it's the psychological and emotional well-being of a person. But putting it more into a practical way, it's work-life balance, right? So
This is how it should look like, right?
if this is you, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And we are all juggling all these different balls, all these different pillars in your life. But what is the reality?
I mean, I'm just going to say, how does this translate to our industry? Because we see there's different things to mental health, but how does mental health translate to the hotel industry?
It's all about work-life balance. And yes, companies are talking, and we heard that in previous session as well, about different working hours. The future of work, I hear that a lot as well. But if we want to make a real change, I believe that we need to start looking at people and purpose instead of profit and power. We are still running our companies, shareholders, banks, whatever they are running our companies based on monetary figures and percentages. And as long as we are financially driven, and yes, we need to make money, obviously, we all need to eat, but as soon as we keep on, making money and not caring about well-being first,
and I mean,
there's
and
a challenge.
We have our industry is very result and quality driven. So we need skills to execute service, and that's why if a result-driven industry needs skills and need people to actually accomplish those skills, and that's why we create a disbalance in our industry, mostly where work-wise there's more priority than all the other elements of life. And obviously that automatically impacts the mental health of a person, the mental health of the industry, etc., etc. So this is where we currently see what's happening in our industry.
And also, before you go, also generation-wise, if I may ask you, who thinks that this is the view of a millennial or a Gen Z? Raise your hand. So we are being run by older generations, and they expect this of younger generations that are about typically 80% of our workforce. 40% of our workforce are millennials already, and that number is growing. So there is a disconnect between leadership at top levels and then the people that are actually having to deal with the pressures of markets or the situation, a pandemic, a war, whatever we need to deal with.
Right. And we're not here to only talk about things that should go
That
better or that are not going well. But before we go into that, I remember when I started my company, it was in 2019, July 2019, and I spoke to a lot of hoteliers and restaurants even who had well-being strategies on top of their agenda. There was budget for it. I was planning health weeks, mental health weeks, sustainability, resilient weeks, name it. There were so many great initiatives in the industry. But from the moment the pandemic hit, the first call I got from 5 companies was like, we have to take this off our agenda. We have to take this out of our budget. So the impact of COVID, of course, budget-wise, money-wise, on mental health is huge. How do you look at that?
Well, again, here I come with some numbers. It's based on the Deloitte Millennials survey. It's an annual survey. 41% of millennials and Gen Z said, I am not supported well enough during this pandemic. And I think that's a wake-up call. A wake-up call that pulling back initiatives focusing on well-being, focusing on mental health are really necessary. So, yeah, how do I look at it? I believe that there is a big change, and the moment is now. We need to make that transformation in this industry, and it will take a very courageous leader that will have to trust people, because they cannot be controlled, they cannot be measured in monetary value, but they are the ones that will make the difference and get those guests in and get them happy, and bottom line, making good profit.
And I'm sure that everybody who's here is working on mental health in the industry or is interested in doing it. So I think it is important that we also highlight what is going well. Like what have we seen over the last years that is changing in our industry? Do you want to start?
You go first.
Okay. I'm saying, so before the pandemic hit, as I said, this was a topic on the agenda that I've never seen before. When I started to study mindfulness, and I'm a certified mindfulness trainer, my leadership said, like, what do you do? what is mindfulness about? And I started to incorporate mindfulness in our commercial trainings in like a very practical and commercial way. And that's where mindset started to shift. And slowly you can see that these not only because of the work that I did, but it raised awareness in the entire industry. So it is on the map somewhere. And I think that's a great thing. A lot of hotels offer yoga classes of meditation, or we just spoke about the benefits, access to the spa, access to the gym, flexible working hours. This is also part of mental health. Not all of it yet, but it's there, and I think that's really, really really good.
Yeah, and well, if you want to attract talent, this is not about the benefits. I'm sorry, I have to break it to you. Don't give more money, don't give more benefits, do give it, but honestly, do not think that giving more benefits will attract more talent. The big difference is that number again, 40% of millennials, and it's growing, wants to work for a company with purpose. And purpose is something that gives meaning and a sense of belonging. So when you have this sense of belonging within a company, or you see a company that portrays that, and is honest and authentic about what's going on, they will come to you. They'll find their tribe. And being part of something for the greater good is definitely the road ahead.
And it's difficult, right? Because you can see, this is easy to say, and if you are a small entrepreneur and you have a 20-seat restaurant or a 40-seat restaurant, then you still need to create this culture. How would you go about vision and purpose?
Yeah. So purpose seems like a very big, strategic, scary thing, right? And purpose can be also something in your local neighborhood. A couple of weeks ago, I spoke to a general manager of a hotel in the east of the country, and she said, I just don't understand anymore. I'm 50 years old, my whole team is 25, I don't understand them. And I said, give them a sense of purpose. She said, but how? How do I give them purpose? I said, so what do you want to be? What do you want to do in your region? She said, I actually want to be the best hospitality organization in the region. I said, but how? She said, well, I would love to make impact. I would love to do something for the community. And we started kind of working on her idea. And all of a sudden, she said, I want to be the most impactful hotel business in the East, or in the region she specifically was. And she started talking with her team about it. They started engaging again. And they thought, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to contribute. And here we go. All of a sudden, her management team, and then attracting all these flex workers, became a little bit easier without paying more, without creating new benefits or, yoga plan or anything like that.
Yeah, no, but it's there. I mean, and you're right. There is a level of depth that is not there yet. And the good news is it is, not going to say easy, but it is quite easy to start with, let's say, and to actually create that level of depth in your company. So also I think one of the things that we spoke about that is very important to realize, and I think is an improvement point of our industry, is to go back to the basic needs of our people. Because I think we all know the Maslow pyramid, where we talk about the psychology of people and the development of people and what their needs are. And we are really back to the first layer, where stability, safety and security is important for people. And that influences mental health. In a situation as today, where we talk about a war and a pandemic, prices are going up, rental, gas prices, name it, somebody needs to be able to sustain himself. And our industry can learn from understanding those values instead of saying there's no money, there's no cost. I mean, it's only a cost because we are a margin-driven industry, which is true. However, in that case, you will influence the mental health of your people and probably scare them away because they will search that somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, something to include, for me, definitely, correct me if I'm wrong, is to include personal values as a basic need in any conversation that you have. Basic needs are not only about money or safety or contracts or flexible working hours. No. They are also about understanding what you as a person need in your life. Where do you stand for?
Really, who you are.
Who you are. Let's, for example, give me one example. I like creativity, and I want creativity in my work all day, every day. If you would ask me to say, no, you cannot be creative, I want you to complete this Excel sheet all day, every day, it's going to take me a lot of energy. And that energy will will impact the quality of work, impact my motivation, and will really impact your bottom line profit-wise. Mm-hmm. So it's a change of conversation and a change of mindset that you can have towards your employees to really improve your business.
Yeah.
So that's where I think we can, how do you say that?
Move forward?
Move forward, yeah, definitely.
Well, and there's a lot of hotel companies have branding, right? We have our core values. Woohoo! We're the most hospitable. I don't know, think of something, we call them container words in Dutch. I don't know if that's a good translation. But the thing is, branding and brand values are not your core values. Branding is image. Core values is your identity. And I ask you, if you go back home to your organization, just figure out, are these brand values actually the same as my core values in my team, me as a leader, me as a person, me as an employee? Or is there actually a really big gap? Because the bigger the gap, the more energy you will lose. So the clearer the brand values, that's what you want to see, you want the stakeholders of the brand to see, right? But the core values is what you want your company to be like. It's the identity. So talk to your people, do surveys, do one-on-ones, whatever you need, but find out, what do they really feel? What's the honest truth of working here? And how can we basically make the gap a little bit smaller and make it a little bit closer and clearer to attract people that feel at home within these core values of your company?
And I think that's a good thing because, especially when we started our businesses, we also had to leave the industry because, as I said, there was no money. So we gained a lot of experience outside of the hospitality industry, where we could focus on people, and so that's why I think you can also now give us an idea of how, just to make it a little bit more tangible for you guys, like how does a company look like with a strong and healthy well-being strategy?
Yeah. So Eijk, I don't know if somebody's here or if somebody knows them, upselling tool, hotel tech. We started a year program where we, from the top of the founders all the way down to the most junior salesperson, we are going to work on their personal leadership. That's one. Second one is we're going to work on the teams and the team development on their their core values within the team.
Can you give an example of how that's being done?
Yeah, sure. So, for example, maybe some of you or most of you have done a disc profile or anything related with colors, yellow and red and all these things. So we always start there. Why? We cannot grow if we do not understand ourselves. We cannot communicate properly when we don't understand ourselves. We cannot connect with another if we do not understand ourselves. That's the basis. And then next to that, and it's basically the pyramid is another pyramid, I'm sorry, of high performance teams. We follow the pyramid. So we work on safety and security. And that's what you do. You show vulnerability when you're sharing your profile with another person in your company, right? It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you're doing it together, including the founders, including the team leads. No difference. It's flat. Everybody's there.
And I think, Viona, we just spoke about it in the previous session as well, is the word transparency. So be transparent about not only your vision and your brands and your brand book and whatever, but be transparent about the choices that you make. Any choices. Is why are you cutting costs? Why are you letting people go? Why are you not going for a client, or you do? And try to give people the feeling that they belong and that they tag on to your strategy, because that will make them feel like they are part of your company.
They will engage. So with Oki, for example, we're working on their purpose and their core values. And the next step on that is we're looking at the culture. So what is the culture connected to the values and this purpose? It's the holy trinity, I would say, of every company. And taking the next steps with them, it will, it already does, it engages. People are curious. They're like, what are you doing? And can I kind of maybe come along? And they want to be part of the process. So the founders, exactly, they are really super transparent. They also talk about their personal lives. We are not a work and private person, right? We are one. All the balls you just saw before, we are one. So work-life, the split in work-life, it is not existent. If you feel bad in a situation in your private life, it will affect your work, right? We all know that. But we still talk about work-private separating. Doesn't make sense.
I mean, we can talk for hours about this, and we only have 45 minutes, and time's
Super
flying.
patient.
So I have to.
Okay.
So if we go, I mean, we in this industry, we like tangible stuff. We like to know, like, how can I change this tomorrow, and
Concrete.
and how much does it cost me? So let's just talk a bit about cost and profit.
Yes.
Is it a well-being strategy? Is it a cost to your business, or is it profit?
So I would say if you have to attract new talent because people are leaving, it costs you about 25,000 euros. For somebody who's a junior, that's a lot of money. That's almost a year's salary, right? Rehiring, filling the gap with other people, 25,000 euros. A personal development plan where they get some coaching, maybe some team development where you're with a bigger team with 8 or 10 people. It's probably somewhere between 15,000 to 20,000 for a group of people, translating into maybe 2,000, 2,500 a person. And then I still hear people say, yeah, but our budget is 1,000 euros a year, right? Or 100 euros now with the CAO. They're making us pay that kind of money. I'm telling you, it is an investment in your people. It is not a cost.
And then the biggest question, how to make it measurable, because that is something we can say all of this, and then you're still like, yeah, but in the end I still have to pay $20,000 euros. So how do we measure this index versus my profit?
Yeah. So there are several tools already being developed by bigger tech companies. Oracle has a happiness score, NPS happiness scores, well-being scores, etc. And yeah, sure. If you can maybe flip through one of the second, I think. Next. Sorry. Next. Yeah, we all spoke about this. Oh yeah. That was too fast. So this is one of the measurables we can now have. This is the pyramid, or actually it's kind of like a funnel of Barrett. It's a Barrett model. And you can see Maslow is at the bottom. And what do we teach our people? Performance. We are looking at your performance. How are you doing? Oh, you're not getting it. We're creating fear because we're not performing. We're not reaching our goals, right? I need to do 10 sales calls a day. Otherwise, my manager will get mad at me or something. But these are the steps. As soon as you're able to get past the performance mindset and you get into the growth mindset, you can actually take the steps with your team and measure it. There's a certain tool for it, which I can explain to you later after the session, if you like. But then you can take the steps all the way up to contribution and contributing to a better world.
Yeah. And I think what we also believe in, there is a space. I mean, we know that the people in this industry, you're not a trained coach or you're not a trainer, you're not, I mean, you have other stuff to do, especially, you know, there's so many things that you're busy with. So we believe, I say we, but
Go ahead.
I also believe in the strategy of 20% effort makes an 80% impact. There's so many strategies that you can apply literally tomorrow that will create the shift of mindset where you can grow in this pyramid of stopping at performance and grow into this evolution part where people can actually develop. And I'm thinking we have a few. I'm gonna give you a few of these because why not?
Yeah, sure.
So one of the things to start with is start conversation, and start conversation in a meaningful way so you understand people correctly. You can place them in an environment correctly, and also allow them to grow. So how do you do that? You can do this by using the 3 E's of thriving technique. I don't have a slide of this, so you have to remember to write it down. So the 3 E's, one is element, one is environment, and the other one is energy. So if you have a conversation, I will compare this to the metaphor with a fish in the water. If you have a conversation with someone, find out what their element is. And the element is what a person is naturally good at. So if I would ask Viona, what is your element? She said, I don't know. But I would ask her, like, this is one thing that people ask you, like, wow, Viona, how do you do that? And she's like, I don't know, just comes to me. That's your element, because that's what you're naturally good at. And if you can add or allow people to work following their element, then you start to create energy. It's the same as with the fish in the water. If you would ask a fish to run, it can't do it because it's not its element. It swims, right? The second E is environment. So test and try and ask, in which environment does this person thrive? Not everybody wants to work from home. Not everybody wants to work in front of a computer. And not everybody likes to work on the floor. But where do they thrive, and how can you combine and put people in the environment that they thrive? Again, the fish, take the fish out of the water and it will not swim. So it doesn't thrive outside of its natural environment. The last E is energy, and this is the pace of working. Some people like to work very fast. They like high pressure environments. They like deadlines. They like to be in that environment. And some people, they need time to reflect and to be creative and to brainstorm and to, I don't know, have different conversation, write stuff down. This is the energy, the pace of work. Find out what the pace of work is of a person, the energy, and let them work most of the time in their own energy. So you have, again, the fish. Ask a goldfish to swim as fast as a shark. It will not happen because it's not its energy. So element, environment, and energy are the techniques that you can apply tomorrow to start a different conversation with your staff. Yeah, I want to close with that, just because we have not much time. And I think we're going to open up the floor to some questions. Are there any questions from the audience?
I have a question.
Yay.
Do you think this is a language barrier? Maybe we need to change the wording, because I think when you say mental health, it sounds really scary, and I think a lot of people kind of like, oh, I don't really want to touch that.
They think it's spiritual.
Yeah. So maybe do you think there's other language, other ways to look at it?
Absolutely. Right. I think that let's start with HR manager. We're talking about resources. Resources are a commodity. You can scale up and scale down. People do not feel valuable if they have the sense of being scaled up or scaled down whenever we feel like it, right? So this is human capital. And capital sounds a little bit like, that's scary, they cost me money. No, this is the true capital. I agree, absolutely. And mental health, there's another thing. Maybe everybody thinks it's yoga and mindfulness, and maybe we should add
These
to
are
the fact...
tools.
Exactly, and that's it.
To
it's
facilitate.
all about tools.
Yeah.
And it's just about being grounded and balanced, whatever it is, riding the waves, being agile and resilient to whatever life throws at you. And we get a lot thrown at us at the moment.
Yeah,
so
and
yeah.
And I also believe what you say, it is a language. If you could translate it to a more like a wider perspective, to say like people development as life, not just to become better in their work or job of performance, but how can this person grow as a person while they are in my company in their life? So there's so many more facets to it, and if you include them in your well-being strategy, you will tackle mental health immediately. So yeah.
I'll give you one little example. Every human being has about 8,000 limiting thoughts a day. Every human being. And those limiting thoughts create 45 patterns. Patterns in your life, 45. And those create 5 survival strategies. And I tell you, patterns, they come with you wherever you go. So you have them at home, you show them in work. So a pattern or a survival strategy is something that you as an employer also have the responsibility to see, talk about, and have that true conversation. Hey, I noticed that this is something that's happening. How can I support you in this? Just a thought.
So inspiring. Any other questions?
Nope. Oh, here. Yep.
Thanks. So I'm a big fan of like the whole subject mental health, and we're also doing in our company a lot around like the color inside discovery and everything. But where do you lay the sort of like the balance between all this, but also being disciplined with your staff and making sure people, if they're not feeling well, still think, okay, I'm gonna go for it, I'm gonna go out of my comfort zone, I'm still, you know, just grabbing it and going for it.
Well, it just really depends on how you run your organization. Have you heard of the No Rules book?
No.
And it's the book of basically the story of Netflix. They don't have rules. Why? Because they give you the responsibility from scratch. You come in, you do it, whatever it takes. But there's one essential thing, it's feedback. Constructive feedback. If you are able to give factual, not personal, but factual feedback to your colleagues constantly, always, everybody does what they do. And they will admit or raise a problem immediately. So I believe that every organization is different. So when you say and discipline and all these things, then I'm wondering, okay, maybe the organization can think about where's the responsibility. I'll give you another figure. Here I go again. 35% of people think they don't have enough autonomy. I think that's really, wow, no autonomy in your work? Ew. That means that I'm going to wait for you to tell me what to do. And that's a problem. So as soon as you're engaged and you have the sense of belonging and you feel that you have meaning, you will take the responsibility, you will act.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
But it's a good book. Read it. It's really inspirational.
I think there was a question here in the front.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, if you have somebody in a position of a managerial position and they come to you with needing support with mental health, how can you analyze them in order, or how should you approach that, because they're also in charge of other people, right? So if they are not as stable mentally perhaps as someone else, how do you approach that?
So we've already had a couple of hotel chains where we are like the coach of the company, and we basically get hired for specific cases like this. We cannot expect from managers to be a coach or even psychological help. It depends on the depth of the problem. If you would like to prevent burnouts or, I don't know, bore-outs, think about this one. Bore-outs are out there a lot at the moment. Burnouts, you know, we have to work hard, but bore-outs, people are still in the same job. And, you know, so the actual fact is that I would suggest any company to have some kind of coaching and trust. How do you call it in English? Vertrouwenspersoon.
A trust person.
Trust person?
But
have you heard of that? That's obligated.
And I think
Holland,
you know,
but
like,
that's a very important tool as well to have.
there's so many like intake conversations that there are free to use. And most of the time, most coaches give you the, they could qualify for you to say like, hey, where is this person going through? Because we have the techniques to do so.
Yeah.
So I could have a 15 or 20 minute call with one of your leaders and see like, hey, what is going on? Is there something we can work on and how? And I think that's also very important to understand. The change is never coming from leadership down. It has to come from the person itself.
Yeah.
So someone else needs to find out what's going on with the person, because you would try to change someone else, it will never work.
No.
So for you to qualify someone else is hard. So you could also just bring someone in to have like a 15-minute conversation and do it for you. That's what I would suggest, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Perfect. Do we have any other questions?
Are we done? No?
Otherwise, I'm going to wrap up. So today, as I hope we gave you some more insights about the topic of mental health, what it means and how you can start making some changes in the industry, not only cost-driven, but long-term profit-driven and based on values and personal development.
Yeah.
If you have any further questions, you can find us. We didn't discuss a place.
The lobby in the suite?
We will go.
You've heard of this? They told
yeah,
us.
just on the left.
Okay, in the middle somewhere.
Or you can find me on martijnvaneijk.com or Viona on happy-millennials.com, and we will happy to answer any further questions.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for today, and see you soon.